All right. All right. Good morning. It's a little late evening for me last night, so I'm uh, not in terrible shape, but I am a little tired. So, but hey, good morning, everyone. Today, I keep getting bothered by the texting device. Good morning. Hope everyone's doing okay this morning. Um, Before we get started here, obviously, we've already got some. Hey, Miguel, how you doing, man? Yeah. Before we get started, everybody knows the deal. I don't know if you're joining me on whatever platform you're on. I'd like to get you back to YouTube and to like and subscribe our channel. I'd really appreciate it. And then, of course, that notification bell would help out as well. You, as they say, smash the notification bell. All right. So, what's the topic for today? First of all, I thought I'd take a little bit of a chance here and see if anyone on the call. We've got a few folks that have joined us. See if anyone on the call has any specific topics they'd like to cover. I have one that I want to cover, but if you've got something, might as well just throw it out there. And I'll throw the chat into the there we go on the screen. So if anybody has anything at all, feel free to throw it out there. That was one of the that was the deal when we first started this thing. Was this is an open forum. You can really ask anything that you'd like. So don't be afraid to jump in there and ask a question. If you have a deal, I mean, shoot, we'd love to hear about a deal. If you need a deal evaluated, something like that, um, certainly would love to go through that with you. But today, I've got some notes written here. Today, I thought I would talk about. Let's see. I don't think it was our last video, but a couple videos ago, we talked about cash buyers. I had my business partner Ken on with me, and we were talking about building a buyer's list. So if you haven't checked that one out, maybe I can go back after this live and add a link to this video. But if you haven't checked that one out, run back and take a look at that after this call, and you kind of get a it's a really good it was a really good call, very informative. Ken and I can really have a good back and forth, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So, but anyway, today I want to talk about. So we talked about building a cash buyers list before, and what all that entails, and some really great ideas, and some things definitely not to do when you're building a cash buyers list. But this week, I want to talk about building a retail buyers list. And so everyone knows what a retail buyer is. It's basically, you put a property out on the MLS, you attract retail buyers. However, we're not talking about MLS buyers here for the most part. It is an option. What we're talking about is if we have an exit strategy of, let's say we are going to pick up a property, maybe we buy that property subject to, maybe we buy it with with cash or whatever. There's tons of ways to do it. But we are going to, and what we do, and this is what I do with all my single families. So I'll pick a property up, have it financed in whatever way best fits the deal, and then I'll sell that property to a retail end buyer on seller financing. So an owner occupant buyer, but I am going to seller finance them. So how do we find those buyers? Because the issue that I have, the problem that I run into when I list properties that I am seller financing, if I list them on the MLS, a lot of times what ends up happening is I get, so in my description when I put them on the MLS, I'll say, this is a seller finance deal only. Seller is willing to carry, right? So the problem though is that I don't know if it's that people don't read anymore these days, but for whatever reason, even though I've outlined that in the description on the MLS, I get a lot of a lot of folks who are conventional buyers, or FHA buyers, or VA buyers, and I'm not really looking for that. I can't cash flow off of a retail sale, meaning they're going to cash me out. I can't cash flow that, and really that's why I'm in this business. I want to be able to build uh, monthly cash flow, month after month and year after year. So how do we find those buyers that we can sell or finance, and that need our services? So we're going to go through a couple of these, and I'll check back in. I have some notes that I've typed up just to make sure I cover all the bases. But if you have anything that you want to ask in the chat, I'll come back and go ahead and throw it in the chat. But I'll come back and address those questions. So, all right. So when we're talking about finding our seller finance buyers, again, those are people that they're owner occupants, but we are going to seller finance them. We basically have two different strategies. They fall into two different categories on how we actually advertise that property. All right. So one of those ways is something I call flash advertising. And basically what that means is, we have a house now and we're looking to fill that vacancy now. So we have a house today. We need to get it filled. Right. So where do we, how are we going to market that property? So the first one is, I think, very obvious. I think it's very well known, and it works extremely well, and that is Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace, I don't know, between myself and my students, I can't even tell you how many properties have been sold on Facebook Marketplace. It is particularly these if you go out there, you'll see a lot of wholesalers that are selling their wholesale deals, but we've been really, really successful with selling our seller finance deals on Facebook Marketplace. It's a great resource. Despite what you might think about Facebook, I have my own personal opinion about Facebook, but it does sell deals. So don't discount Facebook Marketplace because it's a fantastic resource. Now, the next one is direct mail. And really what we do with direct mail is it's kind of it may not sit well with the landlords that maybe watch this, but what we do is we print up a flyer for that particular property, right? And then we go out and we pull an absentee owner list. That absentee owner list, obviously, we're not going to mail this to the landlord. That wouldn't make any sense. We're actually going to mail it to the tenant. So we're going to print out a nice 8.5 by 11 flyer with a picture of the property, and the verbiage in it. We're going to have, it's basically a listing. It's just like a listing, except we are using terminology that is a more attractive to an owner occupant buyer. So it would be to a seller finance buyer. So it would have your standard listing verbiage, and I'll read what one of those should look like here in just a moment. It'll have your standard listing verbiage, the description and everything will be almost exactly like an MLS listing, except we want to really focus on the fact that the seller is willing to carry this. You can get into this property with X amount of dollars down, with these terms, and obviously you're going to have your tracking number. You're going to have a phone number on there that they can call. And really, I should touch on that for just a minute here because in our other strategy or our other marketing channel, we want to try and build a buyer pool. So I'll get deeper into that here in just a minute. But for the flash advertising thing, you definitely want to have a number on there so you can collect those phone numbers that call you, or if you're sending them to maybe a website, you want to be able to collect their information, because the house that you, or the property or the deal that you send this buyer may not be for them, right? But maybe it just plants a seed in their mind. They're like, you know what? I don't know why I'm renting. I should be a homeowner. And so what you can do is add them to your CRM, and you can send them out these deals, much like you would a cash buyers list. You can send them out these seller finance deals, and just so you're following up with them. You're not losing that. You're not losing that lead. That lead. Excuse me. So your direct mail piece, like I said, it's going to have it's going to look like an MLS listing, but it's going to be solely focused on seller finance, the terms of your seller finance deal, and it's going to be sent to the tenants in absentee owned properties. All right. So another one, this channel, this particular marketing channel for this flash advertising, as I call it, is probably the best way to find buyers that you can imagine. And that is, believe it or not, it's bandit signs and yard signs. What we really like to do is we go out to Home Depot, or if you really want it to be professional, you really want it to look like a real professional organization. You can have, if you want to present yourself as a real, like someone with credibility, what you can do is go out and you can actually have these signs printed at a print shop. But what you're doing is we buy anywhere from 20 to 40 bandit signs, and about a third of those are going to be those directional signs. So what we do is we place 6 bandit signs in the yard. Those bandit signs are going to say anything from, they're going to have, maybe you're going to have a description of the property, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, new roof. You're gonna highlight the major items on that bandit sign. And your next one's going to be, it can be something like seller will carry. Obviously, one of those signs is going to have to say for sale by owner. And maybe on that sign, if you have the room, you can say something like, seller financing available, seller will finance, 100% financing available. But I'm telling you, and again, you got to have your phone number on there. Don't ever forget to put that on there. Hold on, we had an electrical outage and constantly being badgered by the electric company. So anyway, yeah, 6 bandit signs. We have, you're basically just describing the property. One of those bandit signs, one of the old tricks out there is you'll point these. Obviously, all these bandit signs are pointed towards the road, but but one of the outer ones, or maybe even 2 of the outer ones, the ones that are sitting on the edge of this row of signs, one of those might say, it might be directed at the neighbors, and it might say, pick your new neighbors, right? And so the idea there is to incite the neighbors into, maybe they have some friends, maybe they have some family that are looking for a property, and maybe their credit won't quite qualify them with a conventional lender, and so that one seems to work pretty well. That's pretty old school. But bandit signs, I'll tell you this much: I used to do lease options a lot, and so I learned my lesson through doing lease options. And this is the lesson I learned: do not ever put your personal cell phone number, or not even a Google Voice number. This really is something. Really, this is something you should probably have something like a Ring Central, or like a Call Fire, or a CRM that has multiple phone numbers inside of it. I made the mistake of putting my cell phone number early. This is 7 years ago. I put my cell phone number on these things, thinking, I probably won't get too many calls. And I came this close to changing my cell phone number. I got so many calls off of these bandit signs. It was ridiculous. And it wasn't just calls for just that property. People actually stored my number in their phone, and I was getting calls. I would get calls, and I'd say, how'd you find me? And they said, well, you had bandit signs in this house on, X, 123 Main Street. I was like, I barely even remember that house. Like, that was 2 years ago. But it actually, people saved the number, and they would call my cell phone up to 2 years later. It was bananas. So Bandit signs, yard signs work really, really great. I mean, it's probably it's it's the most work. It's not a lot of work. You're really just you know, writing out these different Bandit signs. It's not a lot of work, but they can get taken down, and so you can spend a little bit of time going out there and making sure everything is still in place. But really, what you want to do with these Bandit signs, like I said before, is you want to post these things all over the neighborhood. I mean, if you can get away with it, don't get yourself in trouble doing it. Um, but you can have a Bandit sign sitting on the corner of a busy intersection with a directional that's pointing in the area, pointing down the street where your property is located, and you can just kind of guide people to the property. I'm telling you, they really, really work well. Let's check the chat here. I don't know what this is. Chicken McGriddle. Oh, that's cute. Oh, there we go. Question. Let's see. Have you ever? Oh, okay. Have you ever listed for free on apartments.com as a rent to own? It's a big place tenants are looking. Let's see here. There we go. I had to throw a block out there. All right. The question was, I don't know who this was, by the way. Have you ever listed for it for free on apartments.com as a rent to own? That's a big place tenants are looking. I haven't done that. I could see how that might work, but we don't do rent to own. We do home ownership. So that's our thing. We want to get people into homes. Now I can see how that might easily be a great place to post your deal. I don't know what the rules are on apartments.com. I can't imagine that they wouldn't allow that, but if it's something that you've done in the past, sure, why not? The more people you can get again, rent to own's got to be your thing. But I see. You know what? I see this now. Yeah. This is a little more clear. So I think what you're saying is you listed as rent to own, and then when they finally come to view the house, maybe you approach them about just becoming a buyer. I could see where that would work, but that's not something that we normally do. But hey, as many eyeballs as you can get on it, the better. All right, let me jump back. Let's see here. All right. Okay, next one on our list. Now we're still in the flash advertising. This is the we have a house now. We need to fill the vacancy now. So the next one is, and I mentioned it in the very beginning, it's the MLS. And again, you're going to have problems if you list a property on the MLS. Not saying not to do it. I've definitely done it before, but I tend to run into issues where folks just don't read the descriptions. They don't, you can say explicitly, hey, this is an owner finance deal, and that's it. You can say exclusively, this is an owner finance deal, and people will still request to look at the house, and they will, they'll schedule a showing, and then the offer that you get is a financing offer from an outside source. I'm not interested in that. I want, like I said, I definitely want to. If I have a property that I'm offering seller financing, my mind's pretty made up. I don't. That's the route we want to go with it. I'm a cash flow guy, and so that's the problem you're going to run into on the MLS. All right, and then the last one that I have for you, last suggestion, at least on the flash side, is networking. And by the way, networking is the only avenue that is on both of these different strategies. The flash side and then building the buyer pool side. Networking is super. I mean, if you have a house for sale, there is no harm in letting everybody know that you've got a house for sale on seller financing. And you'll just get calls out of the blue. If people know that, you wouldn't believe how many times I get a text or something from a friend of mine or a colleague in this business, and they'll say, "Hey, have you got any seller finance deals for sale right now?" And it happens quite a bit, happens a lot. So, oh, okay, this is Jen. Okay. Jen says you're selling on payments to those who may not qualify for traditional financing and are looking at monthly payments rather than full price. Tons of my tenant applicants asked me if they could buy the house on payments. So listing on rental sites for the monthly payment amount, I would think would get a lot of people who might be interested in this. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. I've just never done it, so I don't have the experience to be able to tell you yes or no. But yeah, I mean that seems logical. I've just never done it. So yeah, let me see. Tons of my tenant applicants asked me if they could buy a house. Yeah, I mean, and it just depends here. This all depends on. There's a lot that goes into this decision, really. What are are you looking for the tax advantages of owning a rental property? Are you looking for, like, for me, I'm willing to give up a lot of those tax advantages just to be able to just to have the cash flow, because cash flow to me is more important. And I really dislike, despite having property management and all that stuff, I really dislike being a landlord. I don't care for it. I'm not good at it. I have a real problem. I have a real problem sticking to my guns when we're talking about people's lives and them not paying anything. And I think, Jen, you probably know that as well as anybody. But I'm just not a good landlord. I'm not landlord material. I just don't care for it. Um, and so for me, seller financing a property to an end buyer is the way that I want to build my cash flow. All right, so that's there's a couple more strategies on the flash advertising side, but I want to move to the building a buyer pool side. All right, so what we want to do is just like we have cash buyers, like we have a database of cash buyers. We want to have a very similar a very similar database when we're talking about our seller finance buyers. So what I mean by that is we're going to go out, we're going to advertise. Maybe we don't even have a property currently. So our advertising copy is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to say, well, some people actually do this, but we don't actually do this. But a lot of people will put on there, they'll put a phantom house or a phantom listing, or they'll create that flyer with a home that they don't own, just so they pull in buyers. That's not what we do. We generally like to we will send out flyers, we'll send out postcards uh, to people who have a propensity for, or have a more of a propensity for buying our uh, seller finance deals, right? So really, those people would be the ones. Maybe they're, and you can buy these lists. You can buy these lists from Dunhill's, off of Listability, List Source. I wouldn't recommend List Source for really much of anything anymore. But you can buy these lists where you can find people that are self-employed. They've been, some of them even break that down into their particular, like, say you're looking for someone, you've got a fixer upper that you just want to sell. It's livable, but it needs work. But you want to sell it. You can find a list. You can have the demographics narrowed down so much where you might find somebody uh, that is self-employed, but they work in X industry. They work in carpentry, or they work in one of the trades. You can find those lists, and so what we're doing is we will create that flyer or create that postcard, and we'll send it out with the copy. Will say, it will be more along the lines of, are you looking to buy a home but think you can't qualify, type of wording, right? So I'm just going to give you a few ways that you can reach these people that I think is, and again, this is kind of these people are kind of fleeting. Like one day they might be really, really interested um, in, owning a home, and then a week later they've forgotten about it. So you really have to, if you have a CRM or, um, actually, I'll talk to you just a second about. I don't know if anybody on this call has uses Google Workspaces, but Google just released uh, a feature in Gmail where you can actually build lists and send mail directly, or send email directly from your Gmail account on a drip schedule, on a schedule. It's never thought I'd see Google do that, but I logged in one day and I saw that was available, and I was like, holy cow, I can't believe Google's doing this. But really, this building this buyer pool, like I said, these folks are kind of fleeting. They're kind of wishy washy. They're on the fence. So just keep that in mind when you are when you actually do have a deal and you go ahead and send out an email, or you know if they're in your database, you send out an email. Don't expect a ton of response, but the ones that do respond seem to be really, really good buyers. So when building a buyer pool, all I mean by this is, we don't have a property for you right now. We will have a house in the future, and we'll notify you when we have that house in the area that you're looking for. You can get super granular with this. Let me make sure I'm not missing any. Okay, not missing any. All right. So we'll have a house in the future. We'll notify you when we have a house in that area. All right. A few ways to get this done. This is one of my favorite ways to build a buyer pool like this. One of those is every door direct mail. I'm sure everyone's heard of every door direct mail at this point. Depending upon your postcard, how you design that postcard and the different colors on it. If you're just doing two colors on a postcard, you can get them printed pretty cheaply. But every door direct mail uses mail routes, so you can jump on the Postal Service website and you can look up. You can. I didn't pull it up, so I can't really show you. But you can go to the U.S. Postal website, and you can pull up the every door direct mail routes. So these are individual routes that every mail carrier has to hit. All right. And so what every door direct mail is it will literally hit every door on that route. So your piece of mail will go to every single door. Well, wouldn't it make sense then to find the routes because usually an apartment complex, for example, will have its own route. So you can send mail directly to people living in apartments, and it will just be delivered to that apartment complex. They may go outside of it, but the mail carriers may go outside of that somewhat. But I do know we have the apartment complexes that we've sent mail to here. It's just the apartment complex is one of those routes, and you can pick just that apartment complex. So roughly, if you're doing just two colors on your mail, on your postcards for every door direct mail, I think right now they're about 18-19 cents a piece, which is dirt cheap advertising. So it's a really, really great way to reach a lot of people for very little cost. Then I am going to talk. Then we go back to direct mail again. Obviously, you don't want to be sending out every door direct mail pieces to entire neighborhoods where there's a bunch of owner occupants. Wouldn't make sense. So every door direct mail would not work for this next one. But this is just direct mail, much like we talked about under the flash advertising. Direct mail to the tenants of properties that are absentee owned. This would work great here as well, because like I said, not every deal that you have is going to be it's not going to interest every single person that you talk to. So direct mail to the tenants of properties that are absentee owned. And then like Jen said here, some of these, yes, it's actually a really good idea. Just listing it on apartments.com. Again, I can't 100% recommend it because I've never done it, but um, more eyeballs, the better, right? So direct mail to the tenants of properties that are absentee owned. Fantastic, fantastic way to build a seller finance or owner occupant buyers list. Then you are going to, what you're going to do with these folks, and these are just two ways. You can still do, a lot of folks, what they'll do is they'll post bandit signs outside apartment complexes. All those get ripped down pretty quickly, but you can put bandit signs outside of apartment complexes. Bandit signs, if you're in an area where there's a lot of rental activity, you can put bandit signs in those areas. But the key here is that you have to have a way to collect their information and store their information so that you can reach out to them periodically and every time you might have a deal that you're going to sell or finance. So this really does require you're just building a buyer's list. So this really does require that you have a tool, a CRM. I'm using REI Black Book to do this. It really does require that you have a CRM that will allow you to to drip out. Maybe you do something informational. That's kind of what we do. We send out information on seller finance, like their education pieces. So one of them might be, what does it take to qualify? And that's just an educational piece. You're not necessarily selling them anything. You're just keeping them educated, keeping them engaged, so that when something does come up, they know. First of all, they know who they're getting this mail piece or this email from. So it just doesn't go directly into the trash, but they're also educated about what you do. There's brand awareness there. There's all kinds of good stuff that comes along with this. So you're going to add them to the CRM, add them to your list. If you're a G Suite user, I keep saying G Suite. It's Google Workspaces now. But if you're a user, you can actually add them to the list and you can send out email through Google. I don't think that's possible with just your free Gmail accounts. I could be wrong. I've been a G Suite user. There I go again. A Google Workspace user for a lot of years. So, and then of course, again, networking. I mean, other than bandit signs, networking is that's where your best buyers are going to come from, because if somebody is out talking to their friends, like, hey, here's my situation. I'm self-employed. I can't get a loan. Do you know anybody that has a house for sale? They'd be willing to sell or finance it. And I get calls like that all the time. So networking is a big one. But let's see here. That's really all I had on my list. I know there's tons of other ideas out there. These are just the ones that we primarily focus on because they're relatively easy, they're cheap, and they're super effective. So let's recap real quick. For the flash advertising side, this is we have a house now, we're looking to fill a vacancy now. We've got Facebook Marketplace, always using Facebook Marketplace. We've got direct mail. Excuse me. We've got bandit signs, which should probably be elevated higher in the list, because bandit signs and yard signs for seller finance deals are just hands down, probably, in my opinion, they're the best way to find a buyer. If you're doing flash advertising. Excuse me. They've got the MLS. I don't really recommend it too much, because you're going to get a lot of the majority of the buyers that are coming in are going to have financing in place, and that's really not something that I'm interested in. I don't want to sell a property, and now that's considered a flip. So now I've got a capital gain I've got to deal with. I would rather sell or finance it and not have to deal with that tax consequence. And then of course networking. Then we jump back into building the buyer pool strategy. Which is a long-term strategy. Again, these folks are fleeting. They kind of fall off. You got to maintain that list a little bit. But this is we will have a house in the future, and we'll notify you when we have a house in the area that you're looking for. Again, this is every door direct mail to apartment complexes. These are bandit signs in apartment complexes or near that, or in also these rental areas, bandit signs in rental areas with your message. Direct mail to the tenants of properties that are absentee owned. This is a great. It's a great strategy. It works really, really well. And then all of these folks that you gather, these names, you got to have a way to gather phone numbers, possibly phone numbers. You don't necessarily have to have phone numbers, but you definitely need email addresses. So, name, email address, and phone number. You have to have a way to to keep that data, and so you can keep those folks updated at all times. And then finally, we touched this. I mean, the same thing on the flash advertising side, on the building a buyer pool side, networking. Networking is going to be hugely important. Huge. I mean, these are free leads, and they're really, really good leads. So I think that is really about all I had today. Hey, good morning. I'm not sure who that is because it just says Facebook user here, but good morning. Yeah, I had looks like we had a little troll come in through YouTube. So sorry about filling up that feed with that, but I'm not sure who that is. But good morning to you. All right. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? Anybody have maybe some questions, some other suggestions that might help the other folks on the call? If you do, go ahead and type them in the chat. And as I said at the beginning of this live, if you want to go, if you are maybe you're a wholesaler, maybe you are a fix and flipper, and you're looking for cash buyers. Hey, good morning. Hey, William, how you doing, man? But maybe you're looking for cash buyers. We did another video on cash buyers. I think that was a few days back, but if this allows me to do it, I will post that link here in this video. All right, guys. If nobody else has anything, I would be happy to take suggestions, questions, comments, anything you got. I can't really see if anybody's typing, so I'll give it just a second here. But nobody's going to respond. I'm gonna go ahead and end this call. Need to catch up with you, William. We haven't talked in a while. You guys go check out William's YouTube channel as well. Sub 2 Deals, good friend of mine. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody joining me. Again, if you are joining us from YouTube, I'd really, really appreciate a like and subscribe. You know, all that good stuff. Clicking on that bell. And I guess I will talk to you all later. Have a great Sunday, and talk to you soon. Take care, guys.